Okay, if you read Pepper Rogers' book, the first thing that they would say to you is you got to go away from a six-man side. Okay, so the defense figured that out pretty quick, and they gave you six men to the field and drove you into the boundary. And that wasn't too bad when you could run the seal scheme. So this guy would release, and he'd either block the corner if the corner was backing up, or if the corner came up and it was a 1-2 man perimeter, he'd go and go out for a pass and block the free safety. The back would run tight to the read key, and if the read key closed, he went around them. If the read key stayed open, it was like a lead blocker, and these guys were able to double team. It was all well and good, but the problem was the defense would always, in college football anyway, the defense would always get you sent to the boundary. Okay, well, a thing that became very popular when Oklahoma had Keith Jackson, who was a pretty good tight end, they would just block this guy. So no matter whether they had a 1-2-3 man, or just a 2-man, he blocked this guy, and that kept him from having to arc block, and it made the quarterback a real viable runner. Okay, he'd almost never get to the pitch key, and that pitch back and the pitch key would eliminate themselves, and he'd either give it, he'd keep it himself inside, or keep it himself outside. And it was a pretty good scheme, but after a while, defenses caught on to it, and it was the same old thing. You got sent into the boundary. So one of the adjustments, of course, was to go unbalanced, and this way you could run that scheme to the field. I remember Oklahoma versus Colorado in the Big 8 championship one year, and it was a slugfest. And as this scheme developed, it turned into there was a whole lot of games where the result was to say 10-3 or 14-6 or something like that, and it just wasn't getting it done. Okay, so people started to go to break it. Okay, and of course I gave them the pass threats. I mean, there's nothing new here. The guys that Air Force did it way before anybody else, I think. I don't know when Tony got into it, but Air Force broke it, and Georgia Southern broke it, and of course Georgia Southern had a lot of guard pull schemes, things like that. But the problem didn't. As long as the quarterback was under center, the problems that originated here still were part of it. I mean, you had quick receivers, but you had to protect them, and the protection wasn't so much of a problem, scheme-wise, but technically, the stances for these guys to be able to pound their way out and get the heck out of the way of the quarterback-fullback mesh, it almost eliminated their ability to pass protect, and, hey, you're throwing the ball 3 times a game, who cares? But when you get behind and you have to throw it a little bit more, and if you watch the Army Air Force thing this year, you see Army trying to throw it, and it just didn't work out for them. Okay, plus when you're operating on the line of scrimmage, you had to deal with the mesh charge. Okay, the mesh charge was an issue. The read key would go and blow up the mesh. When he's a clean read, like he's going to go down and tackle the fullback, quarterback's happy as a clam. The fullback's not that happy. I remember one of our fullbacks saying, "Coach, he was going to give me the ball, and I was trying to give it back to him." And but especially when I don't have it here, but the other page, the loop. Okay, but when you created a pile at the mesh, the quarterback had to run the hump and get around it, and it just slowed the whole thing down. It destroyed the pitch phase, and just didn't work out too good. Okay, so that brings us to the next chapter.